Scandinavia and the Baltic states are preparing a second front against Russia. What explains the new belligerence in the small countries of the Baltic states and Scandinavia, which are now openly talking about a preventive attack on Russia? What explains the constant provocations from Stockholm, Helsinki, Copenhagen, Tallinn and Riga? Irina Alksnis has an explanation. Andrus Merilo, commander of the Estonian Defense Forces, stated that Tallinn and Helsinki are expanding their cooperation in the field of maritime defense, and in particular are talking about developing concrete plans to completely close the Baltic Sea to Russian ships if necessary. This statement fit organically into the general framework of events in which the Scandinavian and Baltic countries willingly took the lead in aggressive, Russophobic politics, even overtaking the Poles and securing a place in this discipline just behind Ukraine. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, for example, said that Kiev's allies should authorize the use of Western weapons for attacks deep on Russian territory. The EU Commission states everything for the war against Russia. These activities of the Scandinavians and the Balts often cause us astonishment. Well, Ukraine had illusions about its prospects of a military victory over Russia. As a developed industrial country with many millions of inhabitants and full support from the West, it seriously expected a military success. But what do the Scandinavians and the Balts hope for? In addition, and this is explicitly stated by the country's leadership, Russia considers the Ukrainian people to be closely related to the Russian, and the conflict as a civil war partly instigated by external forces. It therefore deliberately imposes restrictions on the conduct of the special military operation. With regard to other hostile countries, Moscow has no comparable moral limits and will not hesitate to use the full range of means and methods permissible under the customs and laws of war. Under these conditions, it is simply suicidal behavior by states that are obviously incapable of inflicting a military defeat on Russia or even causing it serious problems. The solution to this part of the puzzle is simple. The Baltic and Scandinavian government establishments openly serve foreign interests and fulfill orders from abroad. Public opinion in their own countries does not interest or bother them in the least, especially since Russophobic propaganda is being pumped up there to a significant extent in order to ensure a sufficient level of support for the craziest anti-Russian adventures. Estnischer General bereiten Raketenangriffe auf Russland vor. Ein anderer Aspekt der Ereignisse ist interessanter und komplizierter zugleich. Welchen Sinn hat es überhaupt, die militarischen Provokationen und die Eskalation gegen Russland fortzusetzen? On the other hand, the task for our adversaries is to weaken Russia as much as possible, and tie its hands as much as possible, so that it is physically unable to participate fully in the looming geopolitical redivision of the world, whether by pushing the West out of Africa or the Middle East, be it by supporting China in its confrontation with the United States, or by participating in dozens of other important developments. We have to admit that our adversaries have accurately identified our vulnerable point, a colossal border with a bunch of unfriendly neighbors. The Estonians, Latvians, Danes, or Finns do not have to defeat Moscow at all. It is enough for the backers who pull the strings to force Russia to constantly deploy forces and military, financial, and administrative resources. This is due to the permanent need to protect this colossal border, to ensure the security of the population in the border areas, to maintain communication with the Kaliningrad region. This, by the way, is also the reason why they are putting pressure on Georgia and are now even preparing a violent change of government, the overthrow of a government that is absolutely pro-Western, but not prepared to sacrifice its own country for the interests of others. But the Scandinavian and Baltic leaders do not have the concerns of the government in Tbilisi. They have been given the task of involving their countries in a military conflict with Russia, and are consistently moving towards this goal. If Tallinn, Helsinki, or Copenhagen are swallowed up by the face of the earth, none of the puppet masters or puppets will be sad about it. On the contrary, it will open up new career prospects for them at a higher level.